Discovering Tut, the saga continues by A. R. Williams. As an introduction, let us know about A. R. Williams, and then we will move with the inferred meanings of these given words and phrases that are written in the text. So A. R. Williams refers to Anne R. Williams. Anne, A double N, Anne Anne R. Williams, and R in Williams' name isn't publicly mentioned, and she is from United States, especially residing in Silver Spring, Maryland. She is a writer and editor associated with National Geography more over 3 decades. She is having specialization in archaeology and ancient history, contributing to stories about significant discoveries and explorations, specializing in archaeology and ancient civilizations. Williams explores historical discoveries and their significance in modern understanding. So, this piece, the discovery to the saga continues. Saga here means epic, is reflecting her interest in unraveling historical mysteries, particularly about ancient Egypt and King Tutankhamun. So let us know about their meanings, inferred meanings. Forensic reconstruction. Forensic reconstruction means the process of recreating an individual's appearance or structure using forensic evidence. Funerary treasures. It means valuable items buried with the deceased for use in the afterlife. Scooted across. Scooted across means moved quickly across the sky. Circumvented. Circumvented means avoided or bypassed. Cascade grey. Cascade grey means a dull grey color associated with death and coffins. Computed tomography means an imaging method that uses X-rays to create cross-sectional images of the body. Resurrection. Resurrection means the act of rising from the dead, often in a spiritual or mythological context. Eerie detail. Eerie detail means uncanny or unsettlingly vivid details. So these were the infer meanings in this context of A. R. Williams. The discovering truth, the saga continues. Here, little bit, let us proceed with first paragraph. He was just a teenager when he died, the last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. He was laid to rest laden with gold and eventually forgotten. Since the discovery of his tomb in 1922, the modern world has speculated about what happened to him, with murder being the most extreme possibility. Now leaving his tomb for the first time in almost 80 years, Tut has undergone a CT scan that offers new clues about his life and death, and provides precise data for an accurate forensic reconstruction of the boyish pharaoh. So, in this paragraph, the passage, or we can say the narrator, talks about King Tutankhamun, about referred to us as Tut, who died as a teenager and was the last heir of a powerful Egyptian dynasty. He was buried with many treasures, including gold, but his story faded over time. After his, his tomb was discovered in 1922, people became very curious about his life and the cause of his death, with some even suggesting he might have been murdered. Recently, after being in his tomb for nearly 80 years, King Tut's remains were examined using a CT scan. This new technology has provided valuable information about his life and death, allowing experts to create a detailed reconstruction of his appearance. An angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of the Kings. Later on, you can see in the book, the map it is given where this place is, the Valley of the Kings, and I will also be highlighting here just to understand where and keep in mind where it is located. So this is the map you can see in the book also of yours if you have kept in front of you more clearly. So indication this is the valley of the king, and this whole square it is projected here, this one. So this is the river Nile, okay, river Nile. So beside this we can say it is located. Okay, so this is the river Nile, this one, and just beside it, it is located. Okay, the Valley of the Kings, and you can see the reign. That means till which period the king Tutankhamun ruled. Okay, and here it is Saudi Arabia. This is Sudan, and here it is what is yes, Egypt. This one is Egypt. Here we can see Switch Canal. It is passing here. Okay, and desert you will see here. So many, and Red Sea also here. It is shown. So it is quite clear. Okay, and this is African continent. So it is quite clear that the land is having a great history behind this king. Okay, so the author is reflecting the discovery more properly uh, in national discovery as a documentary. So try to find out in the National Geography channel, okay, if it is given, because I have already seen once and I don't remember on which date, but I have seen as a discovery. Okay, it used to show, okay, National Geography TV. So this is the map. So just have a basic idea where it is located, okay, beside River Nile, and you will understand. Of the thing it is here, Egypt, as it is clear that this mummy was there only, or from there only the story it is connected. So let us continue with further explanation of the next paragraph, what the author is trying to make us know about this young pharaoh. An angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of the Kings. Dark, bellied clouds had scudded across the desert sky all day and now were veiling the stars in cascade grey. It was 6 p.m. on 5th January 2005. The world's most famous mummy glided head first into a CT scanner brought here to probe the lingering medical mysteries of this little understood young ruler who died more than 3,300 years ago. The passage here it describes a scene from January 5th, 2005, when King Tutankhamun's mummy was removed from its burial site in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. The atmosphere was tense, with strong winds creating dust devils and dark clouds covering the sky, making it seem ominous. At 6 p.m., King Tut's mummy was placed into a CT scanner, a machine used to examine his remains in order to uncover medical mysteries about him since he died over 3,300 years ago. All afternoon, the unusual line of tourists from around the world had descended into the cramped, rock-cut tomb some 26 feet underground to pay their respect. They gazed at the murals on the walls of the burial chamber and peered at Tut's gilded face, the most striking feature of his mummy-shaped outer coffin lid. Some visitors read from guidebooks in a whisper, others stood silently, perhaps pondering Tut's untimely death in his late teens, or wondering with a shiver if the Pharaoh's curse, death, or misfortune falling upon those who disturbed him was really true. In this passage, the narrator describes the scene of King Tutankhamun's tomb, where tourists from around the world visited throughout the afternoon. They descended about 26 feet underground to see the tomb, admiring the beautiful murals on the walls and the striking golden face of Tut's outer coffin lid. Some visitors quietly read guidebooks while others stood in silence, reflecting on the young pharaoh's early death in his late teens. There was also a sense of uneasiness among some tourists about the legend of the pharaoh's curse, which suggests that bad things happen to those who disturb his resting place. The mummy is in very bad condition because of what Carter did in the 1920s, said Zahi Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, as he leaned over the body for a long first look. Carter Howard Carter, that is, was the British archaeologist who in 1922 discovered Tut's tomb after years of futile searching. In its contents, though hastily ransacked in antiquity, were surprisingly complete. They remain the richest royal collection ever found and have become part of the pharaoh's legend. Stunning artifacts in gold, their eternal brilliance meant to guarantee resurrection, caused a sensation at the time of the discovery and still get the most attention, but Tut was also buried with everyday things he'd want in the afterlife: board games, a bronze razor, linen undergarments, cases of food and wine. So here in this passage, Zahi Hawass, the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, discussed the poor condition of King Tutankhamun's mummy, attributing the damage to actions taken by Howard Carter, the British archaeologist who discovered the tomb in 1922. Although the tomb had been looted, the richest royal collection ever discovered. These treasures, especially the, the stunning gold artifacts, were meant to help the pharaoh in the afterlife and attached a lot of attention when they were uncovered. However, along with the valuable items, Tut was also buried with everyday objects he would need in the afterlife, such as board games, a bronze razor, linen undergarments, and supplies of food and wine. After months of carefully recording the pharaoh's funerary treasures, Carter began investigating his three nested coffins. Opening the first, he found a shroud adorned with garlands of willow and olive leaves, while celery, lotus petals, and corn flowers. The faded evidence of a burial in March or April, when he finally reached the mummy. Though he ran into trouble, the turtle's reasons had venting Tut to the bottom of his gold coffin. No amount of force could move them. Carter wrote later what was to be done. So here in this passage, the narrator is describing Howard Carter's process of exploring King Tutankhamun's tomb after discovering the pharaoh's treasure. After carefully documenting the valuable items, he began examining the three nested coffins. When he opened the first coffin, he found a shroud decorated dried flowers, which indicated that the burial likely took place in March or April. However, Carter faced a significant challenge when he reached the mummy. The rituals resins used in the embalming process had hardened, effectively gluing mummy to the bottom of the solid gold coffin. Frustrated, Carter noted that no amount of force could free the mummy, leaving him uncertain about what to do next. The sun can beat down like a hammer this far south in Egypt, and Carter tried to use it to loosen the resins. For several hours, he sat the mummy outside in blazing sunshine that heated it to 149 Fahrenheit. Nothing budged. He reported with scientific detachment that the consolidated material had to be chiseled away from beneath the limbs and trunk before it was possible to raise the king's remains. Here in this passage, the narrator describes that Howard Carter faced the challenge of freeing King Tutankhamun's mummy from the hardened resins in the coffin. To try to loosen the resins, he placed the mummy outside in the intense heat of the Egyptian sun, which reached temperatures of 149 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite the extreme heat, the resins did not soften and the mummy remained stuck. Ultimately, finally, Carter reported that he had to carefully chisel away the hardened material, just like the carpenter. They are using the chisel for making it proper the furniture. So carefully chisel hardened material from underneath the limbs and body before he could lift the remains. In his defense, Carter really had little choice. If he hadn't the mummy free, thieves most certainly would have circumvented the guards and ripped it apart to remove the gold. The Tut's time, the royals were fabulously wealthy, and they thought or hoped they could take their riches with them for his journey to the great beyond. King Tut was lavished with glittering goods, precious collars, inlaid necklaces and bracelets, rings, amulets, a ceremonial apron, sandals, sets for his fingers and toes, and the now iconic inner coffin and mask, all of pure gold. To separate Tut from his adornments, Carter's men removed the mummy's head and several nearly every major. Once they had finished, they reassembled the remains on a layer of sand in a wooden box with padding that concealed the damage, the bed where Tut now rests. So here in this passage, the narrator explains that Howard Carter had little choice but to cut King Tutankhamun's mummy free from the coffin. He believed that if he did not do so, thieves would likely find a way to bypass the guards and steal the gold treasures from the mummy. During Tut's time, Egyptian royals were extremely wealthy and believed they could take their riches with them into the afterlife. As a result, Tut was buried with an extravagant array of valuable items, including gold, jewelry, amulets, a ceremonial apron, sandals, and the famous inner coffin and mask. To separate Tut from these treasures, Carter's team had to remove the mummy's head and cut through almost every major joint. Afterward, they carefully reassembled the mummy and placed it on a bed of sand inside a wooden box with padding to hide the damage, creating the resting place where Tut now lies. Archaeology has changed substantially in the intervening decades, focusing less on treasure and more on the fascinating details of life and intriguing mysteries of death. It also uses more sophisticated tools, including medical technology. In 1968, more than 40 years after Carter's discovery, an antonym professor X-rayed mummy and revealed a startling fact the reason that cakes his chest, his breastbone and front ribs are missing. So here in this passage, the author highlights that how archaeology has evolved since Howard Carter's time, shifting its focus from simply seeking treasures to explore intricate details of ancient life and the mysteries surrounding death. Modern archaeology employs advanced tools, including medical technology For example, in 1968, more than 40 years after Carter discovered King Tutankhamun's tomb, an Antonian professor used X-rays to examine the mummy. This examination revealed a surprising detail. The breastbone and front ribs of the mummy were missing, hidden beneath the on his chest. Today, diagnostic imaging be done with computed topography or CT, by which hundreds of X-rays in cross-section are put together like slices of bread to create a three-dimensional virtual body. What more would a CT scan reveal of touch than the X-ray? And could it answer two of the biggest questions still lingering about him? How did he die? And how old was he at the time of his death? So, here in this passage, again, the narrator discusses the advancement in diagnostic technology, specifically computed topography, which created a 3D virtual image of a body by combining hundreds of X-ray images taken from different angles, similarly to slicing bread. It raises questions about what additional information of a CT scan could write about King Tutankhamun compared to earlier X-rays. The passage also highlights two major unanswered questions about Tut, how he died and how old he was when he died. Moving ahead with the understanding of passages. So, King Tut's dismiss was a big event, even by royal standards. He was the last of his family's line, and his funeral was the death rattle of a dynasty. But the particulars of it and its aftermath are here. The narrator again that the King Tutankhamun death was a significant event, particularly because he was the last heir of his royal family, marking the end of a dynasty. However, the exact details surrounding his death happened after remain uncertain. So there is no clarity how he died and in what was the time of his death. Amenhotep III, Tut's father or grandfather, was a powerful ruled for almost 4 decades at the height of the 18th dynasty's golden age. His son Amenhotep IV succeeded him and initiated one of the strangest periods in the history of ancient Egypt. The new pharaoh promoted the worship of the Aten, the sun disk, changed his name to Akhenaten or servant of the Aten, and moved the religious capital from the of Thebes to the new city of Akhenaten, known now as Amarna. He further shocked the country by attacking Amun, a major god, smashing his images and closing his temples. It must have been a horrific time, said Ray Johnson, director of University of Chicago's Research Center in Luxor, the site of ancient Thebes. The family that had ruled for centuries was coming to an end, and the Akhenaten went a little wacky. So here in this passage, the author discusses the lineage, the genealogy of King Tutankhamun, highlighting his grandfather or father Amenhotep III, who was a most powerful pharaoh and ruled for nearly 40 years during a prosperous period in ancient Egypt. After him, Amenhotep the Fourth became pharaoh and initiated a controversial era by promoting the worship of a new deity, the Aten, the sun disk, and changing his name to Aten, meaning servant of the Aten. He moved the religious capital from Thebes to a new city called Ekheteten, now Am- Amarna, now Amarna, and shocked the nation by attacking Ammon, a major god, by destroying his images and closing temples. Ray Johnson, a director at the University of Chicago Research Center in Luxor, describes this period as chaotic, noting that it was a time when the long raging royal family was nearing its end and that Akhenaten's action seemed erratic. So, moving ahead again with the other paragraph, after Akhenaten's death, a mysterious ruler named Sminker appeared briefly and excited with hardly a trace, and then a young Tutankhaten took the throne. Tutankhaten took the throne. King Tut, as he is widely known today, the king soon changed his name to Tutankhamun, living image of Amun, and oversaw a restoration of the old ways. He reigned for about 9 years and then died unexpectedly. So, in this passage, it describes the events following the death of Akhenaten, where a little unknown ruler named briefly took the throne before disappearing without a significant impact. Afterwards, a very young king, Tutankhaten, later known as King Tut, became pharaoh. He changed his name to Tutankhamun, meaning living image of Amun, and worked to restore traditional religious practices and beliefs that he had been disrupted. Tut ruled for about 9 years uh, and died unexpectedly during his reign. Regardless of his fame and the speculations about his fate, one mummy among many in Egypt, how many no one knows. The Mummy project, which began an inventory in late 2003, has recorded almost 600 so far and is still counting. The next phase, scanning with a portable CT scan donated by National Geographic Society and Diamonds, its manufacturer, King Tut, is one of the first mummies to be scanned in death as in life, moving ahead of his countrymen. So here in this passage, it highlights the note that despite King Tutankhamun's fame and the intrigue surrounding his life and death, he is just one of many mummies in Egypt. The exact number of mummies is unknown, but the Egyptian Mummy Project, which began inventorying them in late 2003, has recorded almost 600 so far and is still ongoing. The project plans to scan the mummies using a portable CT machine donated by the National Geographic Society and Siemens, the machine's manufacturer. King Tut was among the mummies to be scanned, continuing to out even in death, just as he did in a city machine scanned the mummy to toe, creating 1700 digital X-ray images in cross-section. Tut's head scanned in 0.62 millimeter slices to register its intricate structures, takes an eye detail in the resulting image with Tut's entire body. Similarly recorded, a team of specialists in radiology, forensics, and anatomy to probe the secrets that the winged goddesses of a gilded burial shrine protected for so long. So here in this passage, it describes the process of scanning King Tutankhamun's mummy using a CT scan machine, which produced 1700 digital X-ray images of his body from head to toe. The scans of were done in very thin slices, that is 0.62 millimeters, to capture intricate all the details with the entire mummy recorded in this way. A team of experts in radiology, forensic, and anatomy began to investigate the secrets that had been guarded for so long by the winged goddesses on his gilded burial shrine. The night of the scan, workmen carried Tut from the tomb in his box. Like pallbearers, they climbed a ramp and a flight of stairs into the swirling sand outside, then rose on a hydraulic lift into the trailer. That 20 minutes later, two men emerged for an office nearby and returned of white plastic fans. The $1 million had because of sand in a cooler. Fan of the pharaoh, joked a guard nervously. So here in this passage, the narrator describes that particular night when King Tutankhamun's mummy was taken from his tomb for scanning. Workmen carefully carried the mummy in its box, resembling pallbearers, as they climbed a lift to bring Tut into the trailer. The CT scanner was where the CT scanner located. However, shortly after the scanning, massive machine, that is CT scanner, malfunctioned due to sand clogging a cooler fan. Two men quickly ran to get replacement fans, prompting a guard to jokingly refer to the incident as the curse of the pharaoh, reflecting the superstitious belief surrounding Tut's tomb. So this is the picture. You will see that the mural in Tut's tomb showing King Tutsiris, the god of afterlife. Afterlife. This is the and this is Tut. Eventually, the substitute fans worked well enough to finish the procedure, checking that no data had been lost. The turned Tut over the workman who carried him back to his tomb. Less than 3 hours after he was removed from his coffin, the pharaoh again rested in peace where the funerary priests had laid him so long. So here in this passage, finally, it says that and explains about that after the temporary fans were used to fix the CT scanner, the procedure to scan King Tutankhamun's mummy was successfully completed. The technicians verified that all data was intact handing 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 Tut back to the workmen. They carefully carried him back to his tomb, and less than 3 hours after he had been removed from his coffin, the pharaoh was returned to his resting place where the funerary priests had originally laid him many years ago. Back in the trailer, a technician pulled up astonishing images of Toots on a computer. A grey hat took shape from a scattering of pixels, and the technician spun and tilted it in every direction. Neck vertebra appeared as clearly as in an anatomy class. Other images revealed a hand, several views of the rib cage, and the transection of the butt. For now, the pressure was off. Sitting back in his chair, Zahi Hawass smiled, visibly relieved that nothing had gone seriously wrong. I didn't sleep last night, not for a second, he said. I was so worried, but now I think I will go and sleep. So here again here in this passage, the narrator describes the successful outcome of King Khamun's CT scan. A technician viewed the detailed images of Tut's body on a computer screen, including his head, neck, vertebra, hand, rib cage, and a cross section of the skull, all with remarkable clarity. Zahi Hawass, the head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, was relieved that everything had gone well. He admitted that he hadn't slept the night before due to worry, but now, with the procedure complete and successful, he felt at ease and ready to rest. By the time we left the trailer, metals steers to the sandy ground. The wind had stopped. The winter air lay cold and still like death itself in this valley of the departed. Just above the entrance to Tut's tomb stood Oreo, the constellation that the ancient Egyptians knew as the soul of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, watching over the boy king. Source: National Geographic, Volume 207, Number 6. So here in this passage, finally, the author describes the atmosphere as the team left the trailer after completing King Tutankhamun's CT scan. The wind had calmed and the cold winter air felt still and heavy, evoking a sense of death in the valley where many departed souls rest. Above Tut's tomb, the constellation Oreo, which the ancient Egyptians associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife, was visible in the sky, symbolically watching over the young pharaoh. So finally, we have concluded and ended up the full explanation of the chapter, and this here the maximum understanding. The text questions are given here. You should evaluate you have understood this chapter and reflect what we have learned here. What is the moral means? Okay, so it might be possible like this. Okay, and you can guess your own moral also. That is also good. So let me tell the moral. Even in death, the mysteries of the past can be uncovered through perseverance and advanced technology. One more time, listen. Even in death, the mysteries of the past can be uncovered through perseverance and advanced technology. So, to sum up the entire chapter, is that King Tutankhamun, the last heir of a powerful Egyptian dynasty, died in his teens and was buried with great wealth. His tomb was discovered in 1922, speaking speculation about his death. In 2005, a CT scan of his mummy provided new insights into his life and death, revealing intricate details of his anatomy. After technical issues were resolved, the scanned 1700 digital images, Tut returned to his tomb with Orion symbolizing Osiris watching over the boy king from the sky above. So this is all about the fact of King Tutankhamun's, okay, that the narrator or the author had revealed after the discovery of its mummy. So thank you for spending your time. And again, I remind, read and revise for best understanding to give your expression to whatever the questions that is connecting this chapter it comes. So all the best, care. Thank you.